Hello and welcome to another video report. It has been a while since our last video. That's because we're in the process of a major move of vehicles from the Gunfire Museum in Brasschaat to a new War Heritage Institute site in Ypres. We'll start this video with the preparation of the Saturday event. The smaller vehicles had arrived during the previous day, but the Gepard arrived at 2 a.m. in the morning.
Voilà, zo is goed. Perfect zo. Magnifiek.
Nog 3 centimeter naar voren.
Ja, doe maar. Doe maar. Maar dan, het enige wat dat niet nog moet.
Welcome to Lombardsijde. I'm going to give a little presentation about our Gepard. The Gepard itself is a German vehicle designed in the 1970s, and Belgium got 55 of them. They got rid of them in 1994 and kept 4 of them. This is one example of them, and this is still a runner. The Gepard itself, based on the Leopard chassis, but with a total different turret, especially designed for anti-air defense. It got 2 types of radar, a tracking radar in front, and a surveillance radar in the back. Both had a reach of around 15 kilometers, and usually they worked in pairs with a couple of tanks together. One was tracking, and the other ones were using his information for tracking a target. So one tank was surveillance, tracking the aircraft, and at a certain point, usually around 3.5 kilometers, that's the range of the gun. All the other tanks engaged the target. The guns itself, 35mm Oerlikon. It had each gun had around 320 rounds of anti-aircraft ammunition, or in case of an armored attack, it had 20 armor-piercing rounds at its disposal. So it could be used in defense against tanks, but only in emergency.
Okay, thanks for the explanation, Yves. Besides the war heritage vehicles, we obviously also have some army vehicles on display. Here we see the 18th Logistics Battalion and their vehicles. This is their mobile repair workshop, fully equipped. Mercedes Actros Transport. The vehicle repair shop or service shop.
Behind me you see the version of the CVRT. It's a striker. There were 8 variants of the CVRT produced in the early 70s. The Belgian army used to have them about in the years 78, 79 until 90. The version is equipped with a swing-fire anti-tank weapon, armed with the MEG mountain gun about 7.62. There were 3 people inside: the pilot, the driver, and the commander. The missiles had a range from about 3 kilometers, so we can take out the tanks T-72, T-55, T-54, and the all small armored tanks of the Warsaw Pact. The maximum speed in kilometers is about 80 kilometers an hour. The model you will see here is produced in Mechelen in cooperation with Elvis Group in England. The Belgian army had about 800 vehicles in production, and they all served in different companies, different divisions of the Belgian army, also stationed in Germany. Each cavalry detachment had about 35 strikers in service. So we had about 70 strikers total in the Belgian army.
All right. Thanks, Dirk. And a look inside of the striker in the crew compartment. A closer look at the swing fire launchers.
You see the M113A1B. This is a Belgian produced version of the M113 that the US produced. These came into life in the 1960s as a need for armored troop transporters for the US military. The first version of these models were petrol powered, but soon they found out they had a bit of a problem or a bit of difficulties with these, and they were later converted to diesels, hence the A1 version. All of these, Belgium acquired about 525 113 A1Bs, and about 70% were produced in Belgium under license, and they were produced in Zaventem at the ASCO plant, by Henschel in Antwerp, and in Aubage by BMF. This specific variant is a mortar carrier. As you can see, the tubes to carry the mortars in, and behind it there is a 120mm mortar that is towed behind the vehicle. The M113 is a very versatile piece of kit. It came in about 7 or 9 forms, I believe. To the right there is a recovery variant that has a large winch. Amongst other variants there is a tactical air control party, battlefield surveillance radar variant. There's an engineer variant with a bulldozer blade. There's a version with a high crane of 6 ton on the top. There's an ambulance version. There used to be a Milan version, but most of the Milan versions were converted to a forward observer called the VW.
A look at the M113 mortar version with the storage of the mortar shells. And this is the M113 recovery version. Close up of the winch and the crew compartment, or what space is left for the crew.
Behind me you can see the Surveillance de Champ de Bataille, which is basically the battlefield surveillance vehicle. Next to that there's a lot of other M113s that have derivatives and other names, like the M577, which is basically an enlarged rooftop on the back of the M113 chassis. The first ones were welded, the later ones were cut completely from a new piece of side metal, and you can't see the weld anymore where they heightened the roof. And these were actually command posts for planning and I think artillery. What you also have is the M163 VADS, which has a Gatling cannon in the anti-aircraft role. Then you have the M548, which is basically a standard. It looks like a truck. It's got a flatbed that can be converted either a low bed or a high bed to carry and haul ammunitions for big artillery pieces like the M108 and M109. Then you have stuff with missiles like the Chaparral and the tracked Rapier from the British, which is an armoured cab where the Chaparral isn't, is an open cab with a soft top. All Belgian M113 A1s, Bs were equipped with a Detroit diesel 2-stroke supercharged engine. These engines are called the 6V53, being 6 for 6-cylinder, V for the V shape of the engine, and the 53 for 53 cubic inches per cylinder. What you can also see at the front end is the bow wave board or plane, which normally sits like this when the vehicle goes into the water, because the vehicle is slightly amphibious, I'd call it. It's not really good for open seas, but it's good enough for normal still water. There is one difference between the Belgian M113A1s and the US M113A1s, and that's simply the fact that the Belgian versions have the A2 suspension, which is an uprated suspension, the torsion bars in this case, and it has an NBC protection system on board. And that sums up about the M113A1 for the Belgian military.
That's it for this video. We hope you enjoyed this overview of the Open Day. There was a lot of interest from the more than 5,000 visitors, and many a volunteer had their hands full providing information and answering questions about the different vehicles. We can't wait till the next event. In the meantime, stay tuned for future Panzer Crew Ypres videos, and don't forget to leave a comment, like, share and subscribe. See you in the next video.
Behind me you have the M113A1. Behind me you see the M113 A1B. To carry on about our models, behind me is the Surveillance de Champ de Bataille, which is basically the battlefield radar. Nee, fuck, hoe noemt dat? De water plank or de... Fuck, hoe noemt dat? Want nu moet dat doen. Dat weet ik niet meer. Hoe noemt dat nu?
Water displacement board.
Water displacement board, ja. Hoe verder of waar beginnen we? Ja, ja.